my YouTube channel. So before we go any further, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell beside. The way in which the different cities in Northern Cyprus are laid out is very simple. The buildings are simple. They are not over the top. They are not, should I say, that modern or luxurious. They're just simple, basically. And there are so many apartments in Northern Cyprus. I think almost everywhere you go, in every city, you find so many apartments. And while the way in which it's set up is that there'll be a long road, and along that road, apartments together with commercial buildings are just mixed together there. You know, that's how it is, even within the towns. Another thing is, this is a place which is also ideal for people who love historical sites or historical places where they are told what happened there, maybe where different figures or people who were talked about in history walked. For example, Apostle Paul and Apostle Barnabas and Evangelist John Mark, they came to Cyprus. And, well, unfortunately, Apostle Barnabas was stoned to death, but he happened to be buried here in Northern Cyprus in a place called Tuzla in Famagusta, the city of Famagusta, right? Well, Famagusta apparently means hidden in the sand. I don't know why it was given that name, but anyway, that's how it is. So I'll show a scripture showing that those guys actually came to Cyprus.
Acts 13 verse 2 says, while they were worshipping the Lord and fasting, the Holy Spirit said, set apart for me Barnabas and Saul for the work to which I have called them. 4 verse 4, the two of them, sent on their way by the Holy Spirit, went down to Seleucia and sailed from there to Cyprus. When they arrived at Salamis, now that first video I showed at the beginning is along Salamis Road, and
expectation number 2, I think I also had the same expectation, is that there is snow in Northern Cyprus. Well, yes, it's an island, but there is no snow. Sorry, there is no snow here. The summers are very hot. Sometimes there are heat waves. And they are humid, they are hot and humid, depending on where you are, especially if you are in a city that's very near to the sea, right? Otherwise, others are drier and hot in summer, other cities. And during winter, it can get really cold, and it still rains at the same time, you know. So that's how the weather conditions here are, but there is no snow. Expectation number 3 is that when you come to Northern Cyprus, you're most likely to get a job. Now, I'm going to dissect this a bit further and mention that there are about 3 main industries in Northern Cyprus, and that is the one of tourism, education, and agriculture. But tourism and agriculture are practically the biggest, as many people who come to Northern Cyprus come either as students or as tourists, right? So with that being said, if somebody comes as an undergraduate, they're most likely to get a job in the tourism sector, right? Because education, they would have come here to study, right? And agriculture happens in other remote areas. I think in Northern Cyprus, you don't always readily see where they actually do their commercial farming, unless you happen to go there. So the thing is, those jobs don't necessarily provide, or they don't necessarily pay enough money for someone to be able to support themselves fully. Let me explain that part. Getting a job here, maybe in a restaurant or at a hotel, could mean that, okay, someone has enough for upkeep, especially now with the issue of the dollar and the TL, whereby the TL has dropped compared to the dollar. It has become more difficult because the amount you get paid is not so different from how much was being paid not long ago. So the thing with getting those jobs within the tourism sector in Northern Cyprus is that, let's say you're an undergraduate, They pay well depending on your demands or your needs as a person. So I'm actually addressing this maybe to people who have the idea that getting a job in Northern Cyprus means you can take care of basically anything you need, tuition maybe and your accommodation, or to take care of yourself altogether. But it's not always the case, especially now that the TL has dropped compared to the US dollar. That has caused a huge change, economically and even in terms of the standard of living in Northern Cyprus. So it's not ideal to come to Northern Cyprus as a student and hoping that you'll find a job that will be able to support you in terms of all your demands. Basically, that's all I'm saying. So the best mentality to have while coming to Northern Cyprus, or the best condition in which to come, is to be financially well off. Or if you're going to consider getting a job, then do know that it's, number one, it might not be easy to get. Number two, you might not know how well that job will be paying, whether it can pay you as much as you expect or not. That's one thing to be careful about. Number three, don't come with the mindset of being dependent on getting a job, because it will also depend on what you are studying and if you're actually able to cope with both studies and that job. Because some of those jobs, they can be really demanding, especially when it comes to time. As imagine working in a hotel and you have to work a whole shift maybe during the whole day. It's not practical to have such a job when you have school to attend, especially during the semester, unless you can do that job during a summer holiday, which is about 3 months, right? 3 months long. So that is about the jobs. Another thing is, many people who would have stayed on the island for a while end up deciding to start up something of their own. There are many people who have started maybe a hairdressing business or catering business, or just whatever that they can do, and decide they're going to do that to make some money for themselves. Those are some of the things people end up doing. Another important thing is that Northern Cyprus is not really a place to come and expect to work after you've graduated. Now, this is something that most people do not know when they come here to study, right? Because not everyone, it's a few people, you can count 1 or 2 or so, who ended up finding a white-collar job after studying in Northern Cyprus, because they have those 2 main industries, and those industries don't always need people who are that well skilled, if you get what I'm trying to say. So there's a high chance that they can employ their own people, number one, and number two, there is also a high chance that other people migrate from other places and come and get those jobs as well. I think those are some of the reasons. Otherwise, basically, do not come to North Cyprus to study and expect to get a job or within the field within which you studied, right? Just be careful about that. Most people who study here end up either having to move back to their countries or to go to another country overseas. Expectation number 4 is that, I wouldn't say it's an expectation, but it's something to just keep in mind, that if you're going to a country where, for example, you're African and you need hair care products, natural hair care products, and maybe certain foods, there are people who supply those who may be from the country where you're from, but they will definitely cost more. So you'll need to have a plan on how you're going to get a supply of those things for yourself. Or if you want, you can just start your own business or supplying those things if you have a reliable source. So those are some of the things. So thank you so much for sitting and listening to me here, telling you about the expectations versus the reality of being in Northern Cyprus, right? And I hope it was helpful, it was informative. Catch you on another video.